Hello there and welcome to Ancient Theories channel. Let me tell you about my trip to Lyrbe ancient city, or Seleukeia. Nobody is sure. The city is located in today's Turkey, about 16 kilometers from the port of Side on a hill, which can be reached only from one side without any risk of falling. There is asphalt, and yes, you can get pretty close via car or bus. As I stated in my other video, I decided to go with a group of tourists due to some reasons. I spent there only 30 minutes, and to be honest I was pretty disappointed because I would love to stay there for an hour or two longer. But I told myself that I could rent a car and go there again on the next day alone if I felt the need. Nevertheless, recording video material at this site is pretty annoying due to swarms of tourists. Take a look. Here are the remnants of the city walls, and the city opens with a common square decorated with columns, just an average agora. On the right side there was Prytanean, more or less a city hall, and on the left was a more mysterious structure. My thoughts are that it was a place for merchants because it definitely had a second floor and stairs for the lower floor which connected agora with the lower level of the hill. As you may see, the state of this site is rough. Lower floors are filled with rubble. Who knows what lies under it? And I definitely did not jump into it because it would have been unwise, and one cannot know if the debris and rubble are stable enough to withstand my weight. Another take on the agora and remnants of City Hall. You can also admire swarming tourists around a local guide telling the most wonderful history of this place, even if he doesn't know if it is Lyrbe or Seleukeia or maybe some other site. Marvelous indeed. And yes, that was sarcasm. Here is the inside of a room located on the same wall as the city hall. Looks like a place for a merchant stand. It had a second floor, but my guess is that the second floor was accessed via the main stairs and a regular door on a higher level or via a simple ladder. Keep an eye on the walls. Bigger stones are placed for lower parts, while higher parts are mostly built with loose stones which probably were glued together with ancient mortar. And as you may see, the mortar has partially eroded. Later I climbed up on those walls to get a better view, and I wasn't the first one to climb those walls, which is not recommended due to safety reasons. You can also take a glimpse of the main stairs and a top view of the room I was in earlier. And here is the City Hall room. When I was inside there were so many tourists that I couldn't record anything useful. At this time it was time to leave, so it was the best time to record something and do something. I ran up a hill for, let's say, less interesting structures for tourists and ignored warnings about time running out. I took a few pictures from that point and put my smartphone in my pocket for a while. I just took some time to search the rubble, which was a mess. I ended up in the ruins of a structure which for me was a 2-story high house, but if I'm correct, scholars placed there some kind of lesser temple. There was definitely some masonry in that rubble, broken parts of sculptures which one can easily differentiate from other rubble by colour and polish. I found an interesting piece of wood, nothing crazy, but pretty after all. I know that archaeologists found there some coins from old periods with symbols of Seleukeia and Lyrbe. Nevertheless, I didn't see any excavation marks and no digging after all was done there. The ground was sturdy, covered with wild grass. You see, the archaeologists leave a lot of marks after their excavations. They must proceed with caution and unearth everything slowly, with the understanding that everything should be catalogued, and there were no marks of that work. But there were other marks. Marks of treasure hunters, old holes filled with rubble and branches. Some people digged there for something not long enough for the wood to rot away, less than 2 years ago. With swarms of tourists, those treasure hunters can't dig more, but my guess is that in months of bad tourism season, they can be spotted there with shovels. A few moments later there was a minor accident. Some girl from another bus got hurt in pursuit of a better selfie or photo. I needed to head to the exit point because guides got postal. They were yelling like crazy just to make sure everybody was okay, not lost, and if possible present in those buses. Like their lives depended on it. I heard arguing going on about some schedule and the next stop. which had to be reached in no time. And what was that next stop? A bloody panorama of the green lake above the water dam. Yes, those mountains would run away if we weren't on schedule. Maybe it isn't interesting for you, but do you know how much money a local guide in Turkey earns? About €700 per month after taxation. It's not that much when you live in Spain, and it probably means starvation in New York, but in Turkey, it is considered a good job, especially for women who are treated, well, how to say this, not favorable even with qualifications. The lowest paying jobs in Turkey legally start at €480 after taxation for 48 hours of work per week. And I feel that nobody wants to lose that job because some random tourist decided to climb ancient walls for a good photo and got hurt in the process. After all, it's easier for the body than construction work or manual labor in the hot sun. Don't get me wrong, I respect their attitude and I decided to go with them after talking to Mustafa, a middleman of this operation, and he was honest about this. I expected that the guides would be overprotecting, and there is nothing wrong with that. I also understood why there are no guides for more adventure-like trips. The risk isn't worth it for them. The state of those ruins is cheerless. There is no actual archaeological work being done here. The structures are slowly falling apart, and there is definitely some looting going on, or was going on between tourism seasons. The only probable future of this site is to be slowly eroded or transformed into tourists' money-sucking mockery. Okay, let's now stop with this depressing mood. Let's talk about why would anybody even build such a city on a hill in the middle of nowhere? Who needs a city on top of a hill 16 kilometers from a prosperous port of Side? The common reason is agriculture. You need settlements like that to generate food or other simple resources like wool for the needs of a bigger city. That seems to be plausible, but why would you build an aqueduct to deliver water there? Why would you build a pretty agora and not so small city hall? And who needs thick walls on a hilltop if you only are here for agriculture? Those are great questions, and the answer is probably more complex. There were no particular materials in this site, nothing like gold or sulfur. There is no mention of any mines around this city, but after all, there are coins with inscriptions of Seleukeia and Lyrbe, and those were minted there. Then why? Was it a trade center? Why, if 16 kilometers away there was the port of Side, one of the bigger trade centers around in ancient times? It doesn't add up, right? But those coins which were found, there were mostly coins from Seleukeia, Lyrbe and Side, and in those times there was no dam on the Green Canyon, so it wasn't a bad idea to build a transit city between Seleukeia and Side. In such a city there would be a lot of trading between those two bigger cities, and we know that the Taurus Mountains were rich in silver in those times. If Seleukeia lays where I think it lays, then the answer is there. Mountain city trading with the port city requires a good trade network with access to resources of the most urgent need, like water for travelers and merchants and food, fresh food. Even if the main city is only 16 kilometers away, it would be just halfway through. And that Mustafa guy told me if I would like to go to the site that I think the Seleukeia is, then I would need a jeep and a lot of water. They had no jeeps back then, but still they would need a lot of water. Sometimes if you look at something in connection to other things, it all makes sense, right? At this moment I can only guess. I wasn't in those mountains, maybe next time in a different season. But if you have been there, please send me some photos, I would love to see it. Before some random treasure hunters or worse will help nature and destroy this remote site. It is a grim thought, but I truly believe that it's only a matter of time that it will happen with the state of archaeology in the region. And the state of archaeology in this region is, how to put this, challenging. No, not challenging. It's simply disgraceful. Till we meet again.